All right, hello and welcome. It's been quite a while since I've done a stream on this channel. How long's it been? A couple months at least. Anyway, here we are with land battles with capture points. Yes, so this is going to be interesting. This is what a lot of people kind of wanted from the beginning, even before Total Warhammer 3 came out. If you would have asked most people what they wanted from, given multiplayer mode, this is probably what they would have wanted because, of course, you do need some way to prevent people from just draw kiting or, corner camping, and typically in tournaments that's done with a rule set that's a few pages long. Capture points, if executed correctly, potentially promise to eliminate that because they force people to eventually attack a capture point in order to win, in a sort of limited sense. But let's go ahead and take a look here. Trying to get into a lobby now and see what we can do here. We are currently joining in the middle of round 2, I believe. Yes, just waiting for round 2. So I'll show you guys the bracket here in just a moment. Let me just get in here. Oh. This. So we have on Turin's Total Tournament Tavern Extraordinary website here. This tournament is being hosted, land battles with caps. It's a rapid Swiss format, so we're in best of ones for 3 rounds, and then we have a finals. So currently here, these players are still playing in the first round, but yeah, should be progressing through very shortly. I think most of them have finished. I don't know 100%. Looks like they haven't reported their scores yet exactly, but should be moving on to the next round very shortly, and be a good time. So basically, it's like a modded Cludge of Domination. Essentially, there's one capture point that opens up. I forget the exact timing. It's a bit of a ways into the game. I can check them on menu here in just a second, but yeah, essentially, as you can see here, it's let's go ahead and spy Goji's secret ogres build here. I think we're waiting for his opponent. So you can see the reinforcing army's technically still here, but on the maps, there's no reinforcing points, right? So essentially, you just fight out a land battle. There's no army losses, which is kind of nice in some ways. But what that means is, again, a capture point opens partway through. You can capture it, and it's not like you just instantly win as soon as you capture it, right? It, like in Domination, has to count up tickets to a victory. But yeah, it should be interesting to see kind of how this develops over time. Obviously, it's still in very new stages, so it's gonna probably have some teething issues, I would imagine, as Domination certainly has and still does, in my opinion. But a lot of people like land battles over Domination for a lot of different reasons, and I think this offers a really nice middle ground for people who want to host land battle tournaments, especially with large prize pools like myself. Also don't want to have to deal with rules breaks and issues like that really kind of drain my excitement and joy out of doing these tournaments. If I have to adjudicate and then people feel bad and then I get nasty messages, and it's just not a good time. But this way, I mean, the rules are what they are, right? And obviously the parameters potentially going to be adjusted over time. I would imagine that would be the case, but at the same time, I think it's a promising start, especially since Creative Assembly seems very slow to react to anything these days. And it's great that we have a community of awesome modders contributing incredible content, both campaign, multiplayer. Some really like DLC quality mods out there for campaign that I've been playing a little bit of recently. But waiting on this next round here. I thought we could sneak in right when round 2 was starting, but I think someone right now. 2 games to go. There it is, Goji, in the chat here. Yeah, it's supposed to be as non-intrusive as possible, but still needs tweaks, and you know, hopefully it sees some wide community adoption. Certainly, if it seems like it's pretty decent, I'll probably end up hosting my own tournaments on it in springtime. Right now, I don't really realistically have time to host, but I'm looking like towards the second half of March into April and May, starting up another season of the South Sea Mercenary League. Yeah, it just kind of depends on the timing of the DLC, because I want it to come out after the DLC is released. Okay. Yeah, and that's the thing, Cool Umbrella. I think ultimately, like, a lot of people are very successful at domination. A lot of people really like domination because it kind of harkens to other RTS games, and I get that. But to me, what makes Total War unique is the spectacle of the scale of the battles, right? And sort of those pitched, you know, 1v1 battles. And land battles really is the essence of that. And to bring in these reinforcements and other mechanics, it just opens up so many other issues and makes it feel way gamey, in my opinion. And again, Creative Assembly has been fairly slow to react on some of these issues. I think, like you said, if they had just done land battles with capture points from the beginning, it wouldn't have split the community like this. And I think we'd be overall in a much better place right now. That's not to say, you know, people who enjoy domination are bad people, or who invested a lot of time in getting good at domination. That's great. You know, if you want to play that, that's totally fine. But it did split the community in a way that was kind of unnecessary, and it's not. I mean, if you would have polled the player base at the end of Warhammer 2, multiplayer people and people who are thinking about getting into multiplayer but perhaps had some reservations about it, the #1 request, like for a new game mode, probably would have been just land battles with capture points. So we got domination instead, so it's kind of how things shake out. It is what it is. But again, I'd like to see this experimentation from the community now that we have the tools to do so. Try it for ourselves, and if it proves successful, who knows, maybe someday we can get official support from CA, but probably not. Yeah, the biggest thing too is when you have big prizes on the line, people tend to get very competitive, and rightfully so. I mean, you know, if it's enough money, especially if you're living in certain countries where that money goes a lot longer, you know, a lot further, I should say, then, like, you know, winning a tournament that has a $1,000 prize pool might be a big deal for some people, and they're going to try their absolute hardest to win, you know, do literally as much as they can. Sometimes that means skirting up against the edge of the rules, sometimes that means outright breaking the rules, so the capture points kind of help alleviate that. But yeah, excited for springtime, Dob. Yeah, me too. Gonna be a good time. Gonna be a good time. Yeah, no worries, B-Master. It's all good. Happens in tournaments with people connecting from all over the world. And that's another thing, is dedicated servers. That's a whole other can of worms that will probably never get properly opened by CA. Who knows? Right? Exactly, Cool Umbrella. It's the base builder without the bases. It's like, this feels odd. The biggest issues for me for domination, and I know that domination has a lot of fans. I'm not trying to insult your identity, but if your identity is domination, you should probably go outside. But yeah, it's, for me, the issues with domination, just logistically and mechanically, it takes too long. Like, typically, if I have time to play, I'll only have a couple of hours. You know, I'm engaged now. I've got a day job. I got stuff going on in the daytime where I have as much time to play as I used to, and there's lots of other games to be played right now. So if I have, let's say, a couple hours that I set aside to play some multiplayer games, I'd much rather play, you know, like 5 land battles, like 4 to 5 land battles, than like 2 domination games, right? Especially if you're kind of, you know, chatting with the person you're playing with and kind of analyzing things as you go along before and after. It can take a little bit of extra time, and it's just, games take a very long time. Lord unsummoning cheese and artillery unsummoning cheese and all that is just rubs me the wrong way. And there's too much, I don't know, too much cheesy stuff like that. The capture weights also make no sense, and elite infantry, you can make it work, certainly, and I've seen people win with it, but it's so much easier to just spam hordes of low-tier, mid-tier infantry. I don't know. Feels like an incomplete RTS game. That's a good way of putting it, Goji. Good way of putting it. If they... yeah. It's too bad. Some of the multiplayer campaigns could have a lot of potential if you could make them balanced somehow. Because then you have the base building and the battles kind of together, but then it's turn-based, and anyway. I mean, the multiplayer campaigns now are pretty good, but like I haven't really played them in a while. I don't remember them being particularly balanced, and I don't know if there's any effort made whatsoever to balance them. But also, like, I don't know. What they need is like a multiplayer arena campaign where it's, you can take like, you know, up to however many players. You can play any faction, but you always get the same start. Everyone has like a balanced start, and you just fight on the campaign map on like a unique kind of arena style campaign map. I don't know. I think that'd be really cool. But probably will never happen. Because, I mean, even like Civ 6, right? I've been playing a little bit of that lately, and they have a officially released, you know, a game map script where you can have like these snowflake maps that are sort of meant for competitive multiplayer gameplay, where the map generation is balanced. Everyone gets more or less the same starting terrain. I think the resources generate balanced as well. I'd have to double check, but cool. Round 2 is up, so let's see. Get Goji's opponent. Check the bracket over here. I had planned to make a video to release right around this time to celebrate the release of Total War Warhammer 3 and kind of chronicle domination, changes made to it over time, why I think from the beginning it was maybe a mistake. But alas, I can't be asked. It takes too much time. Total War Warhammer 40k. Yeah, I think that'll probably happen at some point, honestly. Speaking of 40k, this guy, Gojira, got me the pretty excellent, actually, 40k Gladius 4X Grand Strategy. Kind of Civ-like 40k game. It's very fun, I have to say. Been enjoying it. Thanks. Yeah, she's great, honestly. My fiance has been living with me for a year now, and it's been been great. Been very good for my mental and physical health overall. Can't complain. Wouldn't have put a ring on it if it didn't work. We got engaged in the summertime, so we had already been living together for a solid 6 months at that point. Let's see. The maps, it should be mentioned, for this mod are some of the community-made maps. I believe originally for the, just for Domination, for Total Tavern. Turin's tournament map pack. Once again, proving that the community can oftentimes do much better work than Creative Assembly. Oh, yeah. Perhaps. Oh, let's see. Got Goji versus Soavi. It'd be a good time. Let's take a look. Their faction. They do the thing. What's the pick and ban look like? Let's look at the tournament page here. Each player will blind ban 4 factions. And then blind pick 1. Okay. So I think there's a way you can spectate on. I did. So if we take a look here, those of you guys who have not played in a tournament before, most of you probably have, but not that. It's been way too long since I've done this, guys. Okay. So, if I come in here to spectate, I did not see... Oh, here we go. Soavi versus Gojira. So, you can actually see the blind bans from Gojira, Vampire Coast, Vampire Counts, Dark Elves, and High Elves. Picks Ogre Kingdoms. Soavi blind bans Dwarfs, Grand Cathay, Vampire Counts, Warriors of Chaos. See, both of these guys are cool dudes. You know how I know these guys are friends? Because they both ban Vampire Counts. Excellent. Skaven versus Ogre Kingdoms should be a good time. It's a fun matchup for sure. You might think that the Skaven can stand, but the Ogre Rush just mulches through Skaven low-tier units in my experience. Stonehorns are also very tough for Skaven to kill. So we'll see. I'm curious to see how this goes here. Right. Everyone bans counts. Yeah, well, counts are just miserable in general. They're just not fun. They should be banned forever from the game. Oh yeah. Mods are a much better game. I highly recommend, if you're looking for like a DLC quality mod, Kataf Southern Realms was just released, and it adds like 7 legendary lords, I think. 6 or 7 legendary lords. Basically redoes all of the Southern Realms factions into like kind of somewhat distinct. They share some units, but they also have some distinct units. It's kind of like with Chaos, where they share some commonalities, but then they have their own distinct flavor, and you know, their own mechanics and everything. It's very good. There's another mod that adds Famir faction that's also very fun. I've been playing that one recently, doing a little like Cthulhu creature run. There's yeah, mods to add all sorts of fun units from tabletop, from the lore. There's one of my favorite mods for the Empire, adds steam tank mounts for their lords once you get to the end game. Yes, indeed. So, oh yeah, Noblars, yep. Southern Realms. A bit OP. Yeah, to a degree. Some of their stuff is pretty OP, but I actually found in the early game, like in the Cthulhu Bro starts in Lestria, and I had to fight, because I have Southern Realms installed, I had to fight El Cadavo right away, which was tough. That was a pretty tough fight for sure, because it's all like crossbows and spears. Like, ugh. It was a hard one for sure. And then immediately have to fight the Lizardmen. Mazdamundi is the second target, which again, very tough, but yeah, I mean, Kataf's been working on that since Warhammer 1. I remember doing a video on that way back in the day, in like late stage Warhammer 1, and the mod has just continuously improved over time. You know, as the community tools have improved, and as Kataf's skills have improved, it's really grown into something that's incredible, honestly. Yeah, like I said, DLC quality for sure. And I know there's some of the other, like, OVN Lost factions are on their way, but yeah, I haven't really tried doing the Southern Realms much for multiplayer. I don't know. I haven't even looked at it in custom battles, to be honest, if it's even, like, usable in multiplayer necessarily, but let's see what these guys have here. Gojira coming in hot with the ogres. Got a couple of Saber Tusk packs here. Mournfang with Iron Fists, interesting for the missile block chance. Some Iron Guts as well. Ogre Bulls, Noblar Trappers, and Noblar's Firebelly with Scrag, interesting. I wonder why Scrag specifically and not just the regular Bro. Anyway, yeah. Got some more Noblars, more Bulls, Iron Fists out on the flanks, or Iron Guts rather, Saber Tusks, and more Mournfang with Iron Fists. Interesting. But looking for that missile block chance, I guess, to defend against Rattling Guns or Jezzails. There are some Jezzails here. We've also got Warp Lightning Cannon, Regiment of Renown. Let's see here. Rat Ogres, Plague Priest, looks like some Clan Rats with Spears, of course. Deathmaster Snitch leading the way. Interesting choice. I kind of like it, though. Ixchis Triads, Skaven Slave Slingers. Gojira refuses to bring the non-legendary lords. Well, that makes playing the ogres quite a bit more difficult, because their legendary lords are noticeably much worse than their generic lords. It's a good thing for him. It's true. That's one thing I kind of like, though, Avenge, is like when literally every faction is led by this cool, unique legendary lord, because what it means is, like, any start in the game, you're immediately fighting tougher opponents to a degree, and like it's more flavorful and unique. I don't know. So much extra flavor. And of course, Creative Assembly in their non-update update, which don't get yeah, we won't get into that right now. Let's save that rant for in between rounds, because that's a whole nother can of worms that I want to open up in a little bit. But let's just soak up some of this beautiful cinematic land battle action. This is what we're all here for, right? Oh, that Firebelly cresting the hill, getting ready to charge down. Those Ixchis Triads definitely taking a pounding, but it's just a decoy. That's right, doing no damage in return. And they are delaying a substantial amount of Noblars and Ogres here. Who Snitch coming in hot. Assassination debuffs, Weeping Blade, Deathmaster's Sigil. Does he actually have the Assassin's Trophy? Might have already gone off, but anyway. Yeah, the Deathmaster's got Scrag in his grips. These Bulls definitely going to need to come support. Deathmaster does have to be careful, though. If he gets circle beaten by Bulls, he'll take a surprising amount of damage. In the back line here, great pick by Gojira to get these Rat Ogres routed. He just very nicely isolates them with the Saber Tusks and punishes the slow reaction time there. But the Noblars are having a tough time penetrating this defensive position. It's definitely taking the Ogres time to kind of whittle through things, and in the meantime, range units of the Skaven are accruing value. If we take a look here, Warp Block Gisele's not too crazy so far, but definitely getting some decent value. Same thing on the Zap. This other unit here, the Naughty Bubo Sharpshooters, are inundated by the Iron Guts, and this is a big reason to bring the Iron Guts, since they fixed their attack animations. They actually work fairly well now. The armor-piercing damage means they'll absolutely destroy weapons teams in a hurry. And of course, the armor they themselves carry means that the regular clan rats are going to be pretty ineffective against them overall. Bit of lags there, but oh man, looks like a juicy burning head being lined up here by Gojira. Should give a nice leadership debuff and does a solid amount of damage to those clan rat spears as well. Should lead to them routing along with Warp Block Gisele's. Great use of Saber Tusks, super cost effective right now, and I love this mobile kind of assault here of the Ogres into the Skaven. This has been this strategy and the tactics that have brought me the most success in this matchup personally, so it's definitely very effective. Can be hard for the Skaven to deal with, but Varve's doing a decent job. I mean, value trade-wise, he's more or less even right now. Ogres do have some access to healing, of course, so they can kind of rebound some of that damage, but speaking of which, looks like the Butcher is going to be used, Troll Guts rather, self-healing on Scrag there as he duels with the Deathmaster. Gonna just leave him to his fate. Deathmaster can definitely be beaten by army losses, but that does require the army to get lost. I guess there's no army losses actually in this game mode, right? So could be tricky for Scrag to survive into the late game, and with the loss of Scrag, it could cascade into more leadership issues with lots of units being routed off. But right now, Gojira's maintaining a slight lead, and oh no, look at this. Deathmaster gets caught. Beautiful Flaming Sword of Ruin to bypass his melee, his physical resistance. And the Fire Belly gets in there with Scrag. Together, they're going to go 2v1, do a lot of damage to the Deathmaster. That's his biggest downside by far, is that he himself is fairly squishy. But will the Fire Belly end up paying the price? This Rock of Moor here, very much defining this combat, as Deathmaster is able to kind of get up against it and not actually have to go 2v1 for the most part. Wither also being used to debuff a little bit more of the armor there. Not really sure about that, but hey, it's something. Deathmaster is also going to rout, though, as Scrag comes in with his Pubbling Knife Hands. Pummeling. Did I say Pubbling? Anyway. Yeah, the Ixchia's Triads are still holding on. They're going to be routing off a couple of these bulls here. Nice tactical retreat from these bulls and the Noblars, though, to get out of there. And Gojira's units are starting to just kind of fall apart a little bit. A lot of his open field forces do eventually get isolated by the returning Skaven units. And the Saber Tusk pack also need to get in here, continue to chase routing units. Got some serious overchasing here with Mournfangs going after Skaven Slave Slingers. But Gojira's still got a fairly strong pocket here. Summons are starting to run out, and the loss of characters for the Skaven could be fairly severe. Looks like Deathmaster. He actually get killed by Scrag? No way, he actually got killed by Scrag. See a little rat body there. Anywhere? Oh no, there he is in the shadows. Okay, so Deathmaster did go down. In that case, Skaven will be suffering some leadership penalties. Let's see, Lord recently died. Yeah, minus 16 when it's recent, and then it switches to a permanent debuff later on. But you can see as a result of that, a lot of these Skaven units are teetering on the edge, and one clan rat's definitely not going to be able to win by themselves. As these units rout multiple times, they're going to start to shatter, and it will sort of act as a type of army losses where too much of the army is unrecoverable, and so Arve will be forced to resign most likely, but we'll see. That's the nice thing too about, like, the capture point really wasn't much of a factor in this particular battle. It was much more the actual engagement, right? Because, like, Gojira is not even going to end up winning on points here. It'll just be a win on army, right? Just by winning the battle, which is nice to see. And so, like, the capture point is really just here for those edge cases where, rather than me having to make some rules, you know, judgment, which is going to make some people upset regardless of what I decide, this little flaggy boy is just here to decide for us. Nice performance by both players here. Ogres are one of the, probably the toughest matchup for Skaven, if not one of the toughest matchups. It's hard to say, really, what the true toughest matchup would be for the Skaven. This is definitely up there. I mean, Ogres and Mass just gives a lot of problems. And there it is. Jira comes in with a fat, look at that army. That is a fat army. And I want to see some of the value, too, on some of these Saber Tusks. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Super cost-effective. Saber Tusks really are probably the most cost-effective kind of monstrous pack unit in the game. I mean, Clever Girls, the Feral Cold ones are up there, too. But Saber Tusks, I think, are just better overall. Really, really good unit in this role. And used to good effect here. Iron Fist, Mournfang soaked up a lot of damage. Didn't necessarily output as much, but that's okay. And then, yeah, Noblar's doing Noblar stuff. Surprised at how well Scrag did, too. I guess, does he have slightly better combat stats than the other guy? Than the Slaughtermaster? That's right. That's the name. Anyway. For the Deathmaster here, both his Giselles, well, I guess the ROR is maybe a little bit short, but pretty much right where you'd want them. Ixchis Triads also got some really nice value. Deathmaster did a good amount of damage, but ultimately losing out that single entity fight, I do think, cost him pretty substantially. The Rat Ogres also getting isolated by the Saber Tusks was a big one. You really need their mass to try and counteract the Ogres, and I would say probably more Rat Ogres with some healing from a Packmaster would be a good way to try and restrain some of the mass of the Ogres. Not have them necessarily running so rampant. Like, the Spears definitely is a good call. It makes sense, but some of them don't necessarily pay for themselves. Interesting. Very fun battle, for sure. Bajira says, Scrag has anti-infantry, which is cool. That is true. If you come in here and take a look, he does have a bonus versus infantry. And higher overall weapon strength. Lower melee defense, which is an issue. But higher melee attack. Got better leadership, which is good. Doesn't have a missile block chance. But higher charge bonus, and then, yeah, plus 20 bonus versus infantry is fairly substantial, especially against a faction like Skaven, where you can pretty much guarantee they're all going to infantry. 300 AP, 130. It's 20 more AP straight up. It's good. Pretty good. Back over to the bracket here. Right. Saber Tusks are definitely undercosted. Yeah, they should be at least 550, maybe 600. I don't know. I really need to sit down and like do some comparisons with a lot of the Feral Beast packs and kind of do a tier list of them. Because they're a little bit all over the place. Like, a lot has to do with the speed of them, right? Like, obviously, Doggo speeds, like, Saber Tusks are 90, right? Yeah, 95 speed. Flesh Hounds, that tends to be, I think, probably arguably the most useful trait for units of this type. But at the same time, those two examples also have really high weapon strength, whereas you look at, say, yeah, like the Razor Gores. Razor Gores are also really good. Their weapon strength is really good too. But let's actually open up browser here. So, we're thinking about this class of units. Got Razorgore Herds, 52 weapon strength, very solid, especially considering armor piercing, 36 AP, 46 charge, terrible melee defense, but 70 speed is also pretty good. 32 models. The models do vary in this category a decent amount. Squig Herds you could also, I guess, consider in this. They're probably the cheapest and the worst overall in terms of stats. 50 armor is actually not bad. And, yeah. Slow speed, terrible leadership. You have anti-infantry. Their weapon strength is not all that spectacular. They do specifically counter a lot of hound-type units, but... let's see here. Horn. Flesh Hounds are one of the better units in this class, although they're pretty expensive. Definitely... Saber Tusks need to be a little bit closer to Flesh Hounds in terms of price, considering that they are very close in terms of stats, like 65 weapon strength, 22, 43, and if we go look at items here, yeah, these guys have 70. They have more weapon strength. They're not that much more expensive than the Saber Tusk packs. Or, sorry, than the next one we're going to look at, which is the Clever Girls here. Yeah, only 46 weapon strength on them. 90 armor, though, is a decent trait to have. Haven't really been looking at their HP too much, which is also super consideration. Would you also consider toads in this category? Maybe. Kind of an arbitrary classification to be you, but interesting to think about. There are a few units in this class. Not every faction has one. Wouldn't it be cool, though, if we had, like, a Wolf Rat ROR that was, like, an extra-sized Wolf Rat that could fit into this category loosely? Ice Wolves. It's one people think about a lot, but, again, 48 models, 48 weapon strength. Pretty decent overall, actually. Not the best melee defense, but good charge. 38 charge, 30 attack. It's definitely enough to get some work done. They're a little more expensive, though. Again, Saber Tusks... 600 probably would be fine. 650 maybe a little bit much, but anyway. Oh yeah, I forgot. High Elves do have one too. It's arguably the worst, least cost effective of this entire category. Yeah, I mean, Flesh Hounds are what, 700? Yeah, Ice Wolves are very underrated. People are definitely sleeping on them big time. Warlines should also probably only be 750, to be honest. Or else buff their leadership by like plus 10. Yeah, 750. So 650, I think for Saber Tusks. 650 might be too much. I'd start at 600 and then go from there. That seems fine to me. Yeah, definitely bring War Lions down to 750 though, and then I think a lot of the other War Beasts are honestly fine in terms of their costs. Empire Dog unit, yeah, for real. Just Mastiffs, that'd be super. Oh yeah, Norska is a fun faction, even if they are probably the most unloved. Definitely the most in need of a rework. Arguably Bretonia also, but I think Norska really, I mean, the lack of selection on everything. Frog does still have his vomit breath attack. Yes, he does. It is very good. 27 explosive damage. 100% AP. That's that's pretty good. You can hit it. Just gotta line it up correctly, though. And you've got a Champion of Corn with scaling damage. Yeah, massive bonus damage when attacking units below 33% HP. Unfortunately, I think this guy right here is the main reason why they haven't added these characters for Norska usable in regular multiplayer yet, because the other ones are balanced pretty much for multiplayer. Like, Kihar is a Slanesh Dragon Sorcerer, which is quite strong and unique in and of itself. Does have regeneration, but, I mean, he's got not that much HP for a dragon character, so I think it would be balanced. Yeah, you've got an Exalted Great Unclean One, which, again, Lore of Nurgle, potentially for Norska would be very strong, but Exalted Great Unclean Ones are not incredible, especially in matchups where your opponent has a lot of missiles, can just shoot him to death. Azric the Maze Keeper is a Lord of Change, but he's not a real Lord of Change. He's not actually demonic. Yeah, doesn't count as demonic. He doesn't have physical resistance. He doesn't have barrier. So he's not a real Tzeentch demon. He's like old Sarthril, you know, wearing a disguise. Anyway, all that aside, game. Try to jump into one if they hadn't started yet, but usually, yeah, there's just one game going right now. The Mammoth Herd and the Special Hell Cannon. Yeah, probably be a little bit too, I don't know. I don't want to open it up to all the campaign stuff, but for Norska, I think you can make a special case because they have, like, no characters. Like, there's just literally, they have a complete lack of any kind of characters. So, just for the sake of fun and multiplayer. Yeah, who else is undefeated right now, Goji? Is there a way I can look at the standings here? Is that not possible? Maze and you are the only ones who are undefeated right now, right? Yeah, maybe I'll join in Yume's on the next one. Probably going to be you versus Yume's if you're the only two undefeated next. So maybe I'll just stay here, Goji. You are the tops because I want to cast the tops. Surprise, Creative Assembly never gave Norska Famir Caster Lord. I know, right? Speaking of mods, we were talking about high-quality community-made mods earlier. Obviously, there's the Famir faction, but there's also a few really good Lord mods for Norska. Like, is it legendary characters that adds the corn dude? Remember, or there's like a corn Norse dude. I think it's in legendary characters, I believe. There's a Skinwolf Lord who has like a transform mechanic, right, where he can transform Skinwolf form. Good stuff, honestly. Stuff out there for Norska. Troll mods too, like not troll mods, but like for the Troll King. Um, yeah, there's mods that add tons of new trolls to Throg. There's troll lords. He gets the troll casters. Get access to river troll hags and add a ton of new types of characters as well. Obviously, that one's really fun. If you're looking for your definitive Throg troll experience, I would highly recommend that mod. Sure. And with all those mods used together, what it creates is like each Norskin faction is extremely different and unique, like all the different playable ones. course, you have Wolfric just being your standard classic Norska, and then you have your more Skinwolf oriented. You have like straight up Corn. Wouldn't be surprised if someone maybe made some other, Lord aligned characters for Norska. Like I think is Rotblood Tribe intended? I should probably ask Stradivarius this if Rotblood Tribe is intended to be spun off into a unique Norscan faction at some point. That'd be cool. But anyway, so much good stuff with right now. Oh, I didn't even do a video about it. Ugh. My definitive mod list. Yeah, so I'll just stick with you, Goji. Stick with you versus you, Maze. Yes. Here on the side, people are. Yeah, I should probably. My not being very disciplined about actually talking directly into the microphone. I'm kind of looking over to the side right now, which is not helping the situation. But anyway, yeah, legendary characters is incredible. That with Mixu's legendary lords, there's obviously, like I said, Southern Realms adds like 7, 8 new legendary lords playable from the start, plus some other unlockable ones. There's so much new flavor in the game, and I really have to say, hats off to the modders. Thank you for all your hard work. Definitely increased my enjoyment of this game substantially. Would not be playing campaign at all right now for modders. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot to see and do in Immortal Empires, even without mods, but when you get to a certain point, you're like, okay, I can only do the Southlands Bowl so many times from different directions before I'm wanting something new. So, right. I'm gonna go on a rant and stopped myself in the middle of that battle, and I kind of wish I was talking about at that point, but that's okay. Oh yeah, the patch. That's right. So, Creative Assembly recently released a 2.4 patch, and I use the word patch very loosely because it did technically do one thing, which is great, which is um, it opened up Immortal Empires for everyone. You don't have to own Warhammer 1 and 2 to play Immortal Empires. It literally, if you just own base game Warhammer 3, you can now play it. You all should have heard that by now, but I have to say, I am very disappointed with the content of the quote-unquote patch because it basically didn't do anything, literally nothing for multiplayer, no balance changes whatsoever, had like a few bug fixes, no new regiments for down, really nothing of note besides that really cool trailer. Don't get me wrong, that trailer was amazing. But again, should have been that way from the start. Just like with the access to Immortal Empires. Like, it's a great thing for them to do. I'm glad the community still has the power to influence Creative Assembly to make those kinds of decisions. But it should have been that way from the beginning. Like, we shouldn't have needed to have a backlash for them to realize, like, oh, hey, we should just make the full product accessible to people who have bought it. That's, I don't know. The fact that they need that explained to them, a little bit alarming. But anyway, yeah. So, two things that realistically should have been done from the start: an awesome trailer and fires accessible for everyone, and then patch itself being a nothing burger, like just absolutely like, you know, like an inflatable balloon that looks like a burger but is actually just nothing on the side. So I can't say I'm very happy with that, but I'm very happy with the community continuing to generate incredible content for us to all enjoy. Latest patch also highlights factions and units you don't have. Oh yeah, definitely a very much needed change just to make it, remind everyone that they need to buy all the stuff. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It is kind of nice if you're like, oh, I want this specific unit for multiplayer. Which DLC do I need to buy to be able to play, my chosen faction at their highest? Okay, I need to buy the Altharian DLC thing, or I need to get the Dread Saurian, I have to buy Nakai, is it, right? Anyway. It's useful in that sense, but it's also a little bit grubby, some people might say, a little bit greedy. Just be constantly reminding you of what you don't have. I don't know. Probably not the person to make such judgments, but I would have just liked to have seen like a couple of database entry changes, Reiksguard minus 50 cost, or Whoa. Dryads are pretty good right now. The buff they gave them to charge bonus and weapon strength actually helped them a lot, and I think they are very, very important to Wood Elves' success right now. And in matchups where Dryads have an easy counter, Wood Elves will probably tend to struggle a lot more, like against Tzeentch, for example. That's a matchup where Wood Elves can sometimes struggle, although Tzeentch's lack of mobility really hurts them there, so it's an interesting one for sure. Yeah, but overall, I really like where Dryads are at. I think the change they gave them was good. Maybe... I don't think it's too much, though. Like, I'd have to test them. I think they still lose to Devoted Marauders straight up. So... like, I don't know. Bleak Swords? Do they win against Bleak Swords? I'd have to test it out and see. Hey, what's up, Coops? Looks like we've got Norska, Throg, the Troll King, coming in hot with 4 Skin Wolves, 2 armored, 2 unarmored. Got 2 Ice Wolves, 3 Norskin Warhounds, including the Regiment of Renown. Just 4 infantry units with 2 spears, 2 great weapons, 2 Javelin Cavalry, 4 of Deathcaster, probably on a chariot if I had to guess. Very interesting. I like this build quite a bit. Yume is also going super wide with his High Elves, and he's got a Princess. Yes, the Princess on the Griffin. This is such a rare pick, but I love it so much. It's essentially like armor-piercing Eagle Lady, right? Not armor-piercing missiles, but armor-piercing in melee. fire while moving, but only in a forward arc. It's solid overall. Got in the front line here some White Lions, your main company, Rangers, Silver Helms, a couple of Lothern Sea Guards, 5 archers with light armor. Ooh, interesting. Light armor gives them more melee defense, I think. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. So yes, as you can see here with the central capture point, it opens 2 minutes into the battle, and then you need 660 victory tickets to win, if I'm reading this correctly. So it does take quite a bit of time to actually count up the victory tickets to win. Most of the time, in like probably 80% of battles or more, you won't actually see the capture point come into play all that much. Wow, that tree is quite large. But that being said, it does potentially force people not just corner camp or, you know, white line camp or other things. See how it goes. I mean, obviously, with these two players, both not necessarily taking static builds where they would want to sit back, neither do they seem like particularly kitey builds where they would want to just avoid melee for the entire duration of the match almost. What you really need is, you know, proper degenerate kite player to come in here and try this format out, but so far seems promising. And the Lion's axes are definitely one of the coolest weapons in the game. Like, if I had to own any weapon in Warhammer, these elven axes are probably up there for me. The lion's teeth or claws or whatever on the bottom there, it's so cool. Anyway.
They will not live to see another dawn.
Princess is going to fly over initially. Some scouting. Skirmishing. Seated quite level, surprisingly, on her chair there. It seems like the chair is maybe auto-level somehow, which is nice to see in comparison to Alariel, who's getting catapulted out constantly off the back of the eagle. Looks like she's going to open up with her bows there, start to pick away at a couple of these Marauder Spearmen. Marauder Horsemen are in position here to potentially counter-skirmish a little bit. But we've also got Spirit Leech to essentially act as a counter-skirmish. Princess could use her bow to perhaps shoot at the Deathcaster, but in general it's going to be a pretty inefficient trade for her to just try and sit and do this for too long. There's no healing? Yeah, it's just Lore of Metal for Yumeis here. There's no Earthbloods or anything else, so he's got to be careful not to take too much damage from that Spirit Leech. Let's see. Right now, Princess is coming forward, going to use that bow to try and pick off a few of those Marauder Horsemen. The infantry of Gojira also comes forward here. He's offering a single archer so far. Could probably push up his entire force and just try and accrue the density of his archers in this position. Fire in all of his bows at the same time and really try and just focus those infantry down very quickly. That would leave mobility only for Gojira, which is going to be tough to execute against a lot of this sturdy infantry. We'll see. Going to need to keep his cavalry in a good position to support and not overextend them into the Norskin's lines. Gojira, meanwhile, sort of laying his trap here as he gets nice envelopment on all sides. Oh man, but these Rangers, they're looking to tangle with the Spear Marauders and cut them to absolute ribbons, and they will. A little bit of lags here. Archers also firing in, and it's going to be a bad day. The Norskin Marauder here. Two weapons getting focused heavily by arrows and taking significant losses already. And yeah, the Gojira's mobility phase is taking some time to develop, although Throg does eventually get in here start to get some work done. There's no Regiment of Renown on the Skin Wolves, and they don't actually have AP, so they might potentially struggle here against the Silver Helms. The Silver Helm here getting a charge into the Regiment of Renown dogs is a very good get. They're just going to butcher a few of the models immediately, but then be forced to pull away from those Skin Wolves, charge into another unit of dogs here. Another Spear Leech going off, though, this time against the Silver Helms themselves, trying to rout them very quickly before they can rout Skin Wolves. Skin Wolves also pulling back a little bit here. Get the supporting javelins. Archers are going to turn and shoot into said javelin cavalry. Here, the Ice Wolves collapse, and they do help to see off some of those Rangers, but the infantry for Norska just did less than nothing. And they spent money and absolutely died horrifically. So let's see if Gojira can get back in this. He's only slightly behind right now on damage value. It is nice that since this is sort of a kludge of domination, you can see the damage value for both sides here. But right now, Yume's standing relatively firm. Mobility is starting to collapse, though. Lions are going to get into combat and try and defend these archers. The light armor will do a bit, I guess, to help defend against some of these attacks, but won't allow that archer unit to survive there. Meanwhile, the Ice Wolves coming back around. We've got more great weapons getting into position, coming back from rout. And Throg's also tangling in the center. Did he actually bring the vomit? I'm going to be a little bit disappointed. He did not. Ugh. Gojira, why? I really actually like the vomit quite a bit right now because of ultra unit sizes. It's a lot easier to get really good shots lined up. Like, he could very quickly just pull out of this, like do a nice breath like down the side of this archer unit and kill almost the entire unit in one shot. Especially given the low angle breaths, like shooting it through the side of an infantry unit can be absolutely devastating. And it really doesn't cost much to bring, but oof. Man, the archers staying firm here with the Lothern Sea Guard, just focusing down those Marauder Horsemen. May's been doing a great job, whatever targets he's presented with, to focus them down. But Gojira gets back in the fight, and look at this. The Princess, as soon as she drops onto the ground, gets immediately surrounded by Ice Wolves, Skin Wolves, Throg himself. Lots of leadership for the High Elves could be devastating, and she just gets collapsed. Wow. That was a swift demise if there ever was one, and that's going to leave this sole unit of White Lions. I might have just stayed on them, to be honest, to try and finish them, but instead he's going to collapse these last few missile units, make sure to shut them down. Very smart. Do so. Rangers having a nice pitched endgame fight against those Marauders. They should win that pretty decisively. Ice Wolves here also momentarily forgotten. Going to get hit by some arrows, but do they actually have missile resistance? I think they do. Yeah, 15%. Nothing too crazy, but it does matter when your armor's that low. Frog here is doing fine. Nice plague of rust on some of these units. Sundered armor. And Searing Doom. The problem with Norska's troops is they don't have a whole lot of leadership either, and it's from the get-go, and High Elves are doing pretty good for the time being. Spear Leech. Okay, so yeah, Spear Leech casters is also still alive. Beasts of Tashnar coming back. They're going to get a nice charge on those archers. Skin Wolves are fighting, but Maze, man, the leadership of the High Elves is really coming through at this point. Let's see if Throg can finish it off. Skin Wolves do have plenty of healing cap space left as well, so the longer this game goes on that they don't get finished off, they're able to just continuously regenerate HP. Is going to start to tilt things more and more in Norska's favor. Oh yeah, I'd love to see me some nice Ice Wolf action though. Oh. Oh man, those are huge, huge wolves. Absolutely terrifying. Finish off those archers there. Skin Wolves moving through here, get a little bit of charge. The Lion's armor helps them defend somewhat against that. Let's see. Yeah, these Skin Wolves, 8 models there, 16 models there. These guys really, if they can, they could pull back and just maybe hide out in the woods for a second to regenerate some HP. Tough to say, but really it's coming down to Throg and the mobility. Their ability to rout off what's left of these High Elves. Looks like a little bit of Winter Tooth Crown here to make all these units unbreakable as they try and make a final collapse. Going to be a lot up to Throg himself to get these splash attacks to really deal significant damage to Lion Infantry. Their armor is helping them hugely here against the non-AP of the Skin Wolves, the Ice Wolves, and whatnot. Winter Tooth Crown doesn't last very long, though, and it is going to start to run out in fairly short order. And then what's left of these Sea Guards, which is 2 very healthy units, it must be said. Going to be tough also for Throg to grind through in the late game, so I don't know about this. Despite the fact that Gojira is technically still up on value just a little bit, the leadership, yeah, look at those Skin Wolves. They get focused and immediately shatter. These Skin Wolves also are probably immediately going to shatter as soon as they get focused. This unit here, 17 models, quite a bit of healing cap space left. Oh man, they just can't hold their leadership together. And the lack of army losses for the High Elves means they'll continue fighting as long as their leadership holds up. And it's not looking great for Goji as time goes on. Yep, another unit of doggos routes. And the low leadership definitely coming back to haunt him in this situation. So what's this? We got a Fate of Yuna going off here. Nice. On this unit of healthy lions just to try and finish them off. It's going to do a lot of damage. With Throg doing splash attacks, it will actually kill the models as well. But they had taken enough HP damage. It's just going to kill quite a few of the models anyway. But look at that. Yeah, like 67 models still alive, and they have that much HP. There we go. Models start to drop like absolute flies. And good to finish that unit off. Will it end up being worth the price that he paid, though? Which is what exactly? The Winds of Magic, and then maybe the Shaman Sorcerer also gets collapsed here, perhaps. See if he can hold off those Silver Helms. Not looking great for him right now, but looks like it's down to pretty much just Throg, and I just don't see his leadership holding up. I think Yume is going to take home the win here, but let's see. One final Spiteful Spirit Leech against those Silver Helms will actually shatter them. And the Deathcaster might be able to come back. No idea how much Winds of Magic he has left. But Throg, at this point, going to pop its Winter Tooth Crown, try and survive until the end. But Yume's is actually approaching a win on the victory tickets. And this is the thing. Even if Throg was able to grind out continuously for some time, there is sort of a hard limit on the time frame of the game. And let's see, just Throg getting focused by these archers right now. Trying to run out the last of the ammunition of those Sea Guards here. Sorcerer does come back momentarily. Will he notice, though, as he's ducking and diving with Throg? Trying to get into the one healthy archer that has a little bit of HP left. Or ammunition, rather. Oh, he does notice the Deathcaster in time. Okay, that's good. Yeah, 1 ticket per second, so he's got about... I can't do math right now. I got about 1.5 minutes. Well, 2 minutes, I guess. Try and finish off what's left of the elves here. Looks like the ammunition is going to be run out. He does manage to reunify both of his single entities, and Gojira actually is now looking to capture this objective. So a little bit of Spirit Leech there on those Sea Guards. Not the most efficient thing in the world, but it's all he has magic left for, most likely. Question is, can Throg beat down whatever is left? It's going to be a super tight finish. Very interesting. But Throg and the Shaman Sorcerer were able to actually capture that objective, at least momentarily. Once the infantry move in, they're obviously going to heavily outweigh, and you notice how quickly the captures happen. They generally are going to happen much faster than in Domination, just so that you can get more dynamic kind of flips of that position. Let's see. Yeah, Gojira wisely kind of rear charging whatever blob the Shaman Sorcerer forces into a rearward facing position. Get a nice attack in there. Try and rout them off, but I just don't see Throg handling all of this, especially with the Lion infantry in there. They've got fairly solid damage, very good stats. And still with martial prowess active. It's going to be close. Oh, it's going to be close. And Gojira can cycle charge and do all these single entity shenanigans. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, Yume still has control of the objective, right? And so, unless Gojira is able to win fast enough with these shenanigans, he's just going to lose on objective. And this might be the first objective win I've seen in this game mode, personally. But let's see. See if Throg can finish it off. Doing his best right now. Get some good damage in, but leadership is just really rough. Oh, he's got less than a minute left. Let's see. I don't think it's going to happen. As soon as he dives into combat, he counts as losing, technically, which is going to give a leadership boost, I think, to these other units. Well, he does manage to shatter the one unit of White Lions, but yeah, that victory objective is just not enough. I don't think Throg would end up winning this anyway. I think probably the Sea Guards and the Lions are enough to beat him. There it is. That's a GG. What a battle, too, man. Came down to the absolute wire. Both players just scrapping hard until the end. Love to see it. Love to see it. What a game, man. What a game. Throg tried his best, but he couldn't quite pull it out in the end there. I think having the ROR skin wolves for the armor piercing would have been super helpful in pretty much all of the targets. Well, not all the targets, but a lot of what the skin wolves were going after had armor, right? Like all these silver helms, all of the White Lions, and not to mention just the extra ROR melee defense would help them take less damage overall throughout the course of the fight. But yeah, the timer does shift the amount of time you have to grind things out, for sure. For sure. And it limits your ability to really abuse cycle charge cheese, because ultimately, like, if Rog had infinite time, he maybe could have cycle charged that for the win. Probably pretty likely he could have, but you're right, because the timer kind of forces you to not do that, or you can try doing it and just end up losing on points. Personally, I think it works decently well. Again, I haven't had much experience with it yet, so we definitely need to wait and see on that. But let's see here. Back over to the website. Total Tavern. I believe they're just reporting this one, and then we should go on to the semifinals, finals. While these guys are getting that set up, I'm going to leave you with music. Go grab a drink of water, and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm returned. They're just discussing, figuring out the tiebreaker right now, so we'll be back shortly with the finals. But so far, this is very promising, I have to say. Be decent. Like, you could just kind of make the army, and the cool thing about the mod too is it can more or less build in the army rules into the caps, right? Into the unit caps, so literally you only have to make like three rules, like no duplicate spells, because there's no way to do that in game yet. It makes some other very small restrictions, but yeah, it's much easier for people, I think, who are not used to playing in tournaments, who maybe aren't as familiar with the rules. They can just jump in without worrying too much about that and just play and have a good time and start to enjoy it without getting so caught up in the minutia of like, oh, is this build legal or not? you know, am I attacking or not attacking, or it's elegant solution for so many things. Finals is Blood Penguin and Yumeis. Cool, cool, cool. I will get in their lobby then. Okay. Just let me know when you get their lobby up. All right, all right. Let's go ahead and all right, all right. Nope, don't look at that. Okay, they're going to be doing their picks and bans. Let's go back to spectate. Refresh this. I don't know. They're doing a different pick ban. Doing a regular. It's final, okay. All right. Yeah. It seems like there were some other really good games in some of the other rounds too. So expect more videos from replays from this tournament in the upcoming weeks. I've still got I've still got some replays to get through from the BBB tournament. That's still ongoing, so you'll be seeing more of those replays as we go along. And yeah, just a lot of fun. Fun. Yeah, it seems very, very promising. So I think most likely I will try to do a tournament with this South Sea Mercenary League. Would that be season 4? Season 3? Season 4? This spring. Once the DLC goes live, within the next few weeks afterwards, we'll be launching that up, putting some solid prize money up, most likely. If I can get some sponsors with that potential. But let's see here. Oh, this is the Medieval 2 Total War soundtrack, by the way. It's one of the greatest soundtracks of any game of all time. Just saying. Absolute bangers. Absolute bangers nonstop. The whole soundtrack, to be honest. Super good. And it's definitely something I love to play on the streams because, you know, it hits that vibe so nice. You get going and you get up on that and it's just amazing. Yes, it is. So, yeah, that's Med 2 Total War soundtrack. Pretty much, I only play Total War soundtracks you're wondering, on like 99% of my videos and streams, sometimes I'll use some of the YouTube library kind of free use music. Most of the time, it's all Total War all day, every day. Are we going to have Empire versus Dark Elves for this first one? I hope so. Love me. Empire versus Dark Elves. Let's see here. Good. Fantastic. Actually, stop playing. Start it. All right. Leg Penguin is ready. Maze is ready. I guess I could go full on scoreboard, but I don't really feel like setting it up right now. So we're just going full casual today, you know? Pretty sure Turin's streaming on his channel right now. So a lot of people are going to be watching this after the fact. Yeah, we'll just keep it simple. Like you may have said in the Discord chat, just keep it simple. See here. Sorry, people are just distracting me. I'm trying to stream. Kind of in between games anyway. So, what you guys think so far of the game mode? Those of you guys who had a chance to play it, I definitely think it shows a lot of promise. Shows a lot of promise. I'm curious to see some replays too. If anybody feels like sending me replays from this mod, of course, just label it as such when you toss it to me on Discord, and I'll be happy to take a look. Can't necessarily guarantee I'll cast it, but I watch most of the replays I get sent, if I don't end up casting them. All right, and we're off. Let's take a look here. Empire versus Dark Elves. We've got a General of the Empire on horse. On Pegasus. He's up in the sky. Looks like Gandalf the Grey. Gundalf here. We've got Captain as well. Interesting. 3 Empire Knights. 4 Pistoliers. Yes. Yes. Ymaze knows the way to my heart. 2 Spears, 2 Greatswords, 2 Flagellants, a single crossbow, a single mortar, and a single sword. Just a really nice combined arms Empire army. No shenanigans, no regiments of renown. This is all vanilla all day, just ready to rumble. No war wagons either, which is definitely a move, power move for sure. Kind of like it though. Leg Penguin now just loading in. Looks like he had a Malekith, and let's what the rest of his build is. Love the map design, by the way. Whoever put this one together, it does look quite fantastic. Up here in the waste. Got this tower of horn here. Got the Tower of Nurgle. And then what is this little camp here? Little marauder camp. It looks like a Kislev camp, maybe? Well, Kislev Fort here for sure. Okay, so we're gonna go Kislev then. Is there not a Slanesh tower? There's a Tzeentch tower here. Curious. There's a monument to each of the Chaos Gods except Slanesh? I don't know. Maybe the map designer can let me know if I'm just missing something here. Slanesh down there? No? Interesting. I love the map design here, though. You've got like this little ritual area. I just imagine them tossing people into the flickering lava down below. Anyway, I'll stop admiring the map for a moment and we'll look at the build. So yeah, Malekith up in the sky, definitely very scary for the Empire to deal with. We've got a couple of Sisters of Slaughter out of the flanks, Bleak Swords, Corsairs, Witch Elves, and then a couple of Cold One Knights as well, the Cairns of Cain, and Dark Riders in the far forward Vanguard deployment. Very, very cool. Yeah, I'm going to be looking for that Slanesh shrine. Just catch me outside. All right, let's see how these guys get on. I love this deployment here. With these Pistoliers in a supporting position for each other. They can immediately fall back if they need to, run around in different directions, and generally make nuisance of themselves. Yeah, the Empire Knights are also in a position to quickly redeploy and reinforce if they need to. A lot of flexibility with this formation here. There's a little bit of overlap, too, as we can see on the Vanguard deployment zones. So, could potentially Vanguard right on top of each other on this map, but might limit the effectiveness of the mortar, although certainly infantry is quite far away, and the Dark Riders have a lot to get through to even get to the mortar crew itself, so let's take a look.
Wise counsel!
Empire is going to seize the initiative, immediately start moving forward. Bust those Pistoliers out. Dark Riders will counter-deploy and immediately try and rush into the side here. Will you Mays catch this in time? It looks like he might lose a unit of Pistoliers. Of course, they're going to do some damage as they're pulling away there. Dark Riders will definitely take some volleys to the face. Let's see, a little bit of Melkos mystifying Miasma from Gundulf, and they're going to get focus fired quite efficiently by the pistols. Yeah, nice gambit there to try and get one unit caught, but it looks like Dark Riders end up paying the price. Double Pegasus character lands. Malekith, though, getting real aggressive, also just going straight after the Pistoliers in melee. Definitely makes sense. See, though, the Pistoliers really want to start to focus like these Sisters of Slaughter rather than having to attack the Dark Riders here. The Dark Riders do eventually get routed, but the Pistoliers definitely taking some losses in the meantime. Almost like I'm using them. It's definitely my preferred method of pistoliering, but looks like I saw some what looked like explosions. I'm not really sure there, but anyway, Cairns of Cain are going to get down into melee on some of the Pistoliers there. They'll be able to regenerate some of their HP, and oh, this is potentially super disastrous. Yumeis gets his general and the captain both caught by the Cold One Knights. They're getting attacked by Malekith there. Nice Soul Stealer, and I would imagine both done for. Yeah, they're both going to get terrified away. Will they actually die, though, is the question. That is a huge loss, potentially, for Yumeis right out of the gates. and might end up with him losing the battle. I don't know that he really has much tools to defeat Malekith outside of going 2v1 with his characters in a more favorable situation, but let's see. The rest of the army is certainly going to continue to try be effective. We've got the Empire Knights charging into a number of positions with the Witch Elves, and the Corsairs should be trading okay. Corsairs into Greatswords is obviously not the greatest, but let's see here. Yeah, the General of the Empire did survive back up in the air here with a tiny amount of HP. I think the Captain did as well. The best thing for them to do would just be to hang back and not die as much as possible, but certainly easier said than done. Malekith drops in. He's going to get a quick terror out on those Empire Knights, and this entire mobile position here just needs to redeploy. It looks like they are going to attempt to do so. Grey Wizard hanging around. Really a lot to do right now, but Dark Riders get through and get on those crossbows, manage to shut them down. The Pistoliers still alive, still a lot of HP and ammunition left. They can definitely contribute very heavily to this battle here, but they just need to start clearing out some of these low targets, like those Cairns of Cain there. Spears are also going to have to be deployed to stop System of Slaughter, which is a pretty hopeless task, but yeah, Empire's already significantly down on value and just struggling to get back in this game, but we'll see. Certainly not out of it when they have cavalry still alive, but oh man, straight into the teeth of these Cold One Knights. The Empire Knights ride and headfirst charge. They're going to do a decent damage. Yeah, that makes sense. Do some decent damage in that position, but the pressure from these Cold One Knights is just relentless, and there's a lot of micro. This many Pistoliers. Not to mention the Empire Lord actually gets completely killed there by Malekith, so that is going to result in Maze being down significantly on value, and serious leadership issues will also result from this. Greatswords do manage to win out a few engagements, which is great for them, but no. Yeah, you may throw in the towel there. It's a little bit too far gone, unfortunately. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, that early dive by these two was super risky. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get them out in time. They ended up getting caught in those Cold One Knights, but had they been able to escape, I really like the odds of this build. The problem is just Malekith in general, I really don't feel there was a great response for. There's not nearly enough anti-large in this, so interesting though, for sure. Malekith is such a terror, man. So strong in so many ways. Let's go on to the next game. You guys are going to get their picks and hands locked in. That music booted back up. Okay. Oh. Love that Pistolier play, but at the same time, it's tricky to execute. Yeah, that dive was rough to watch for sure, and it's definitely a mistake I would make. But you know, actually in that same setup, I really like Boris, because he has self-healing and can fly around, and actually he has pretty good combat stats up in the air. on a Pegasus, he has like 60 melee defense, which is really good when you combine that with his AoE debuffs. Even just the one that affects only... I mean, the one where it affects only low leadership units is not going to do that much against Malekith until he's pretty low. But even just the regular debuff, I mean, he's surprisingly tanky up in the air, especially with Lore of Shadows if you have that enfeebling foe. I would probably run a very similar setup, except just skimp on some of the infantry costs. Like, I'd probably cut the flagellants just for, like, spears, honestly, and then use that extra funds to upgrade or the General of the Empire on Pegasus to Boris on a Pegasus. No, the capture point is at a predetermined location in the center of the map. And all these maps are custom maps from the Turin's Tournament map pack that have been repurposed for this specific mode, right? Like, you'll notice on this map list, if you look closely, you don't see any of the regular domination maps, even though we're selected on domination mode, and it's because they've all been replaced by these specific land battle cap point mods, which is why they have LB by all the names here. So yes, it appears 2 minutes into the game every single time in the same place. Yep, it's a good one. So far, it seems pretty good. I haven't had that many games myself playing on this mode yet. It's mostly been spectating and commentating, so... I mean, it's really not that different from regular land battles, though, on these maps, right? Which is fine. I think if this game mode proves popular, if there's quite a bit of interest, I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard to convince the map makers to maybe repurpose some other land battle maps, or I don't know exactly the process of making these maps, like what's easy to do, what's difficult to do, so... Alright, and they're getting started. We get to see Empire once again, this time versus the Dwarfs. Ace coming in hard with Belagar, Ironhammer, 2 Slayers, 4 Bugman's Rangers. Man, this guy is just trying to win me over today. He's got 3 regular Rangers, then the Ulthar's Raiders, 5 Dwarf Warriors, a Quarreler, and 3 Miners Blasting Charges. So a huge amount of ranged crossbow units, and then... nice beach area. Wonderful. Ever? Sure. Not 100% finished yet. I think this is probably all supposed to be water out here. But anyway. Let's see. Once they've all loaded in. Right. We are as in olden days. Okay, so odd deployment zones for sure. And map looks cool though, I have to say. Let's see, we've got Bugman's Rangers here. 4 of them. Yeah, Dwarf Warriors. We already pretty much looked at the Dwarf build as it was introing. Take a look at it once again. This time on the Empire side. Silver Bullets. We've got Marcus leading the way. Some swords and great swords mixed. And some Empire Knights as well. We've got handgunners alongside the Silver Bullets. And Gundolf once again, Hellstorm Rocket Battery, Regiment of Renown, Sunmaker, ready to party. Definitely a great tool to have against the dwarfs. Looks like some sneaky grenade launchers hidden in the woods and Vanguard over there. Yeah, very interesting. Dwarfs making their beach landing here, while the Empire approaches from inland. Got this Empire village right behind them, so it's very lore friendly. 100% lore bonus. Looks pretty good. Pretty good. Nice house. Gotta be like the town hall or something. It looks much nicer than all these other buildings. Maybe that's the mayor's house, and this tiny little thing right here is the town hall. Who knows? One thing I do know is that this rocket battery is going to have a jolly old time opening up on the Vanguard Dwarfs. So Yumeis bravely venturing forth with all of these Rangers, of course, being hidden. This is very key to this Ranger strategy, right? They're stocked, so the first unit to come into range is actually going to be these miners blasting charges. That's what the Sunmaker will start shooting initially. Some of the rockets might hit some of these other units, but yeah, like now, Grey Wizard comes forward and is going to scout and discover all these other units. So Marcus and company are going to have to be a little bit careful there. Rockets make a couple of minor hits. Nothing too devastating so far. Couple of small hits on those miners, and they are just miners after all, but the Rangers are going to come forward and start to skirmish with the Empire a little bit here. Marcus reverse 360 firing his bow into them. Of course, these are Bugman's Rangers specifically as well, so they have charge defense. They're not too afraid of these Empire Knights, but that Pit of Shade certainly will punish two, which are a little bit overblobbed right here. Bugman's Rangers, yeah, that charge defense versus large is going to mostly protect them, actually completely protect them. The Marked by Ulthar blowing their missile block and armor, those Empire Knights definitely getting punished very heavily, but I like the combination of the Pit of Shades and the rockets to punish the blob of the Rangers as they come forward here. They're going to start to fire at the greatswords as well. Great target for the crossbows with their decent AP values. Shooting those greatswords is going to be super cost effective. We've also got some Slayers getting a nice flanking position here, so the Dwarven advance is fully ongoing. Empire Knights push back with no problems, but looks like the Empire Infantry actually counterattacking very well here. Swordsmen getting into those Bugman's Rangers. The Bugman's Rangers probably actually win that, given their healing 38 melee defense. I don't know. We'll see. Have more weapon strength also in melee, which is interesting. Slayers against Swordsmen, very cost-effective for the Empire. Not necessarily going to win that engagement, but should be just fine there. And Empire is doing pretty good, all things considered, for this matchup. Often can go very differently, but right now, Plague Penguin is up double the value of, more than double the value of Yumeis as Yumeis advances, but of course, that will change as he starts to run low on ammunition. Sunmaker's getting there already, has already accrued a really nice amount of value, though. Definitely paid for itself. Slayer's getting hung up on Swordsmen. Shot in the back by these handgunners. Very cost-effective use for them. The fact that Swordsmen are able to intercept the Bugman's Rangers here, even if they're more or less trading evenly, it's still good to occupy the Bugman's Rangers, keep them from firing too much, soak up some of their HP. Bled quite a few models off of that unit, for example. But definitely not out of this yet. There's a lot of dwarfs to try and cut through. Elgar himself being exceptionally angry at the turn of events. Nice bit of shades there, taking out some of the dwarf melee infantry. Nice net there, and shooting from the handgunners, focus firing on anything that gets through the defense. But rockets are almost out of ammunition, and at that point it's going to be up to the melee of the Empire, pretty much. I mean, handgunners definitely still contributing as well, but juicy Sunmaker volleys here. Final kill counts 302, 2,700 damage dealt. One more volley. Come on, let's see it. Let's see it. We'll watch it up close, and we'll count the kills after. Oh, the humanity. Oh, a couple more volleys incoming. Look out. Oh, right in the middle of that formation, man. Just absolutely eliminate another unit of Rangers there. Oh, and still one more volley. Okay, so we're not quite done yet. We'll keep it in cinematic cam. Empire Knights running through here. Spoilers are going to try and make their stand. Oh, was that it? One rocket. Now you're out of ammo. Okay. Hilarious sometimes. But yeah, things are looking pretty good for the Empire from here. Great swords are actually starting to cut through some of the last of what's left, and although the Empire Knights aren't being able to chase routing units since they are themselves are getting routed off, looking decent. That said, we do still have some rogue miners in the back line. One unit of great swords fighting Belagar. This is a pretty ideal situation for the Empire, just kind of matched up 1v1 without any supporting infantry. They can get a nice surround on him and continue damaging him over time, but dwarfs also have a nice pocket forming right here, a reforming, if you will. Bugman's Rangers healing is going to be absolutely huge in this type of game mode. And again, the Empire being unable to pressure and actually finish these dwarven units off could potentially come back to haunt them. We'll see. But nope, looks like Yume is going to throw in the towel there. And that will be a 2-0 victory. I believe it's a best of 3 or a best of 5. Let me just quickly double check. Yeah, so it is a best of 3. So that will be a swift victory for Plague Penguin. Nasty, nasty build for the Empire against the dwarfs, especially on a map like that. No cannon response, just massive infantry. The rockets absolutely feast. 3,000 damage value, 30,000 damage dealt, 341 kills. Absolutely spectacular value there, and that's pretty much what carries. I mean, definitely the handgunners contribute nicely as well. Great swords get some decent value. Nice to see them doing okay. Empire Knights blocking well and dying horribly, which is also what they're here for. On the other side, I like the pick of the Bugman's Rangers. I think, yeah, it's hard to say, really. I mean, not taking Thorek Windbrow is a bold move for sure. Oh, how much Belagar actually did here. Bellicor is somewhat completely different, but yeah, that's it. That's it for today. GG's. Indeed. Thank you all so much for coming out. Big thanks to Gojira and Yumeis for the awesome mod and for hosting today. I am definitely going to be doing some events with this mod, you know, come springtime. So I look forward to playing some games in it, seeing how it develops over time. That's it for me for today. Thank you all so much for watching. You guys are the absolute best. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.